You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It's your host, Brian Fullerton here, hanging out with you guys. Super excited about doing a very timely episode for you guys. We have a special guest on the line, one that you guys are no stranger to. We got none other than the GOAT, Paul Jamison, on line too. Paul, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
What's up, Brian? As they say in Detroit, what up, Del?
What up, Del? Well, that's what they say in BFE, where Keith Kalfas lives. You know what I'm saying? But over here in Michigan, we're a little bit more falutin on my side of town, the west side of town. But no, I'm just having fun. But yeah, dude, what's new with you, man? You down in Atlanta? Is it warm? What's the weather looking like?
Yeah, I was just hanging out at the pool with some Georgia peaches and came up for the interview here. So it's 75 and sunny.
There you go, man. Well, we hate to interrupt your poolside experience. Every time I check out Instagram, I always see a pair of long legs at the poolside drinking a smoothie, and I'm like, what's going on with Paul, man? Why is he always hanging out at the pool? I'm definitely jealous and living vicariously through you, bro, which is super, super exciting. But, dude, you've got a lot going on. Actually, this week, you are launching your Fall Road Tour, which is just crazy. We're going to hear a little bit more about the big plans. I just wanted to let our audience know about what you got going on, because there's so much valuable content that I can imagine is going to be coming down the pipeline over the next 3 weeks from the Green Industry Podcast. But let's do this. Before we jump into it, if people don't know you, they're probably living under a rock because you and I get to talk all the time. But if people don't know you, can you get these guys up to speed about who you are, your background, the podcast, and just give these guys the highlight reel?
Absolutely. So I started my business in 2011, and I have been in lawn care landscaping for 10 years. In 2018, I had the idea to start a podcast, and so I started the Green Industry Podcast back in 2018. And since then, it's really kind of grown and evolved, and now it's just a passion in my heart to make. We actually do a daily episode, Monday through Friday, just like what you're doing, just trying to really elevate this industry and help others take their lawn care landscaping companies to the next level. And these tours, this is actually my second tour. I did a summer tour in Virginia, in Maryland, Ohio. I came obviously up and did the Michigan Marathon in your garage, in your studio. And now we're going back on tour. This time we're going to Missouri, Illinois, Arkansas, Iowa, and Minnesota. And Naylor Taliaferro is actually going to be flying out and joining me for the majority of the tour. So it's just so much fun to get to hear guys' stories and what they learned, and then make it into a podcast so we can listen to it while we're out on the mowers and blowing and working. So I'm loving life, man. We share the same producer, and I just got off the phone with Marty, and I was like, dude, I'm so pumped up about life right now. Like, I'm so excited. I can't contain it. So I'm pumped up, man.
That's awesome. Heck yeah, man. Well, I'm excited for you. And truly, you really do add like an amazing, valuable resource out there in the community. I'm on my mower, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, just like a lot of these guys listening in. And I listen to my podcast because I always forget like what we talk about when I have a guest, because sometimes it's 2, 3, 4 weeks later when the episode publishes. But then I'm always like, also new available today. I get those little, what do they call them? Notifications at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning. And it's like the Green Industry Podcast. And I'm like, oh yeah, Paul's got an episode too. So it's always fun listening to both podcasts, both episodes. We need more content though, man. It's funny. Like, I can normally bang out 2 podcast episodes by 10 a.m. And then I got to figure out all my, for me, I go to politics after that because I'm a politic junkie. But anyway, so this is really, really cool. I'm excited about having you on. For those of you guys that don't know, my podcast is literally has the fingerprints of Paul Jamison all over it. Paul is a really good buddy of mine. We actually met a little over 2 years ago at the Louisville Mega Caverns. Remember this, Paul? And I honestly thought that you were like a third-party media producer, camera guy, toting around for a Naylor like a hired hand. And I've never met you before. I didn't know who you are. And it was so funny because we were at the table and you're like, hey, I'm Paul Jamison. I'm like, hey, I'm Brian Fullerton. I'm like, you work here with Naylor? And you're like, No, not exactly, but I got my own business. But it was so cool. Like, you were so relatable. It was just a fun conversation. We kept in touch for a long while after that. And then about a year ago, 10 months ago, I said, Paul, I want to start a podcast. And here we are today. You came up, you unboxed my whole mixer board and my microphones and helped me register online. And there's actually a lot of work that goes into it. Paul, I know it's like the easiest stuff for you to do because this is your element. You got a professional background in broadcasting, right? But for me, it was like square peg, round hole. Things were like super confusing. So I invited you to come on up. I threw a check to you with a comma in it. I said, come on up, help me out, because I really respect your time and want to get you your day rate. And here we are, 10 months later, man. And so I'm very, very thankful and very excited to have you on as a guest. So let's do this really quick. Paul, what do we got to do? We got to get a sip of water, right? So we got
to work on these segues. You said you listened to your show, and that's actually when I started in broadcasting. This awesome world-class broadcaster, David Stein, he's so good. He told me, he's like, listen back to yourself on the radio so that you can hear what you sound like, so you can always get better. So we definitely gotta work. You're a one-trick pony, man. But you made me $20 because I bet my producer Brian's only got one segue. I'm going to grab a sip of water,
sure,
and pass it over to Marty.
Yeah.
And so Marty's like, he's like, you know why he says that, don't you? And I was like, yeah, because that's all he knows.
Just drinking my water. So.
Oh, that's what that was. And Marty's like, no. He's thinking. She's listening, Pellegrino's listening, so he's just teasing with them like, hey, this could be your time to sponsor it. And so anyway, Marty and I have fun with that.
Did you like the photo I sent you? Was it 2 days ago? I heard your podcast during the day. I was laughing so hard. I got my guy Rob and I, we're in the truck. We're cutting grass. We're doing what you guys do, listening in. And it was funny because I took 10 seconds to go to the Essentia Water Influencer page to sign up as an influencer, or to be considered as an influencer, whatever the heck that means. And like an hour later, they sent me an email and they said you were rejected for the influencer campaign. I'm like, what do you need to do to be an influencer to sell water? I mean, like, what's the qualifications for that? What's the credibility? What kind of clout do you need to sell water? I'm like, I was just laughing so hard. I said, fine, we'll move on to Pellegrino and Smart Waters or something like that, right? But
yeah, so.
Just unbelievable, man.
I got that and I laughed. Hey, let me give you one tip before we pass it over to Mr. Producer.
Sure.
And this is what they taught me in broadcasting school. It's called a tease. So as you go into the segue, you want to tease them to make sure they don't go. They're not going to go anywhere anyway, because once they listen to the podcast, put it in their pocket, they're listening.
Okay.
But you want to think of something clever to say. Coming up, guys, you will never believe what happened to Rob today. Or coming up, Keith's going to tell you the craziest story ever. And so that you always tease it. That way they're like, oh my gosh, I got to listen. What's he going to say? You know what I mean?
I'm learning, dude. I have no ego, man. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to kick it over to Marty, Mr. Producer, because we cannot wait to hear Paul talk about all the people he's going to be interviewing on his fall tour.
There you go. You'll never believe what's going to happen in Kansas City.
There you go. Well, you'll never believe what happens when Paul rides an airplane coming to your live event, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. This one, we'll keep it Disney, right, Paul? Last time we had you on here, one of the funniest episodes we probably have on the whole podcast. Paul had an incident on the airplane, and but you know what? That's the past. We talk about the future here, right, Paul? So, but anyways, all right. Well, let's kick it over to Marty, Mr. Producer. Take it away, and we'll come on right back.
Ah, yes, Brian, the infamous Fullerton Unfiltered episode number 51, which is verboten for me to bring up here in the studio. I do mention it, though, time to time to Paul, just because I know it gets under his skin. Something else that I've just learned listening to the two of you talk is apparently how Paul's been spending his summer and early fall afternoons. Now, he and I know each other from radio broadcasting, and we actually share studio space in what we call the Jamison Media Complex. I affectionately call it Studio 5150, which I have to assure Paul is just me paying homage to Van Halen's 5150 studio and not what happened in episode 51. Now, every afternoon around the same time, he's been telling me he's got to go check on one of his crews or go see one of those famous clients he's always talking about. And then he shows up 2 hours later with a nice tan. I always thought he was out on the job site.
Are you ready for GIE Plus Expo?
Well, Yes, GIE Plus Expo is coming to you now. It's GIEExpo2go.com, your new online connection to hundreds of new products, industry resources, and solutions to help you grow your business. GIE Expo to Go is packed with your favorite exhibitors' latest innovations, demo videos, event links, and more. Plus, you can set up your own My2Go show planner to gain exclusive access to show specials and discounts. Test yet? It's all free. So what are you waiting for? Go to GIEExpo2go.com and start exploring today.
Do you wish your contracts looked and read a little more like something a professional would have produced? Of course you do. Hi, it's Marty, and Brian is making available the exact same contract that he uses in his business. Some of you I know are wordsmiths, and you know how to write well, and you've got a lawyer in the family who can look over your contract, but many of you didn't get into lawn care to spend time slaving away at a computer, hoping to produce a contract that clearly communicates and inspires confidence. Let me recommend that you pick up Brian's downloadable commercial contract form. Along with this plug-and-play contract, you're going to get access to a 15-minute explainer video teaching you how to put the form to work in your business. Plus, free updates for the form for life as we continuously make improvements to it. Get started today and take your business to the next level with this commercial contract form waiting on you now at L'Entrepreneuracademy.com. That's L'Entrepreneuracademy.com.
All right, good deal. We'll always appreciate Marty bringing all the show sponsors and the show announcements for you guys. We couldn't do it without him. And yes, like Paul said a few minutes ago, we actually share the same producer. And I'll say this, Paul turned me on to Marty here to help run the show, run the podcast, because Paul said, dude, are you producing it and doing all the content? And I said, well, yeah, dude, I do YouTube. I'm like, I shoot the content and I make the videos and I edit the videos. He goes, oh, okay. He goes, well, there's people that can produce your show for you, so you can like get kind of freed up, and there's people that professionally, specialize in this stuff. And I said, well, tell me more about this intriguing partnership. So anyway, it was really, really cool to get to talk to Marty here about a month ago. And you guys know Marty. I love his ad libs. Paul, you were always saying I love his jokes, and he's a character, man. He's got his own personality, doesn't he?
Absolutely. And the cool thing about Marty, because I had talked to him, me and him are friends. And so he was just telling me his passion. Like for years, he's been in broadcasting, and he's like, my dream job is to be, like someone's consultant and behind the scenes and like running their operation. He's like telling me everything.
Yeah.
And then I had this conversation with you, and you're telling me everything. Like, man, I just wish there was someone that could do this. And it was like in my brain, I connected the dots. I'm like, Marty and Brian need to meet each other. And then, it's just, I think he's been doing a great job. And I think that he loves the transformation it's making in people's lives. Let me read you this, Brian.
Yeah.
This is Cordell Lawn Service. This is why you do it, why I do it, why Marty does it. He says, this is about your podcast, Fullerton Unfiltered. He says, best podcast ever, Cordell Lawn Services. Brian, I have 5 words to sum this up. This is all caps. You have changed my life. This podcast has taught me so much, not just in business aspect, but in life, period. Thank you for everything you do. I'm a full-time fireman, and you have inspired me to start my own lawn care business this year. The best way to predict the future is to create it. Thanks, Brian. Stay safe. That's Cordell Lawn Services. So messages like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what gives Marty fuel. That's what gives, hopefully, you fuel. That's what pumps me up to come back into the studio day after day and to go on these tours, because the information that we're sharing on these shows, it's changing people's lives. It's changing a fireman's career to, start a lawn care business. And he's leaning on us like, help, guys, what do I do? And so it pumps me up, and I know it pumps Marty up to be able to transform lives like this. It's fun.
Dude, absolutely. I mean, that I always say it's not a tagline or it's not something like cheesy as a soundbite. It's like I always say, like, my channel for YouTube is all about helping you guys grow a more successful lawn and landscape business, so you guys can go out there and crush it. And I know Paul said something very, very simple on his podcast. He's trying to elevate the lawn and landscape industry, and he's trying to help you guys, run profitable lawn care businesses and take them to the next level. So we're really passionate about this stuff. I don't know. We're just dorks talking about lawn care, but hey, you know what? Lawn care community is showing up. I mean, again, for some of you guys that love the numbers and the stats and the metrics, like Paul's podcast and my podcast, both in the top 50 consistently on all podcasts and the entrepreneurship category, Paul, in America. So that's
business entrepreneurship. Yeah.
That's huge. To tell you guys like the honest answer is that you need tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands of downloads per month to get into those topper tier ratings. And so we don't take it for granted. So like literally per day, there's a couple thousand, tens of thousands of people listening to the show between Paul and myself. And so guys, we just want to be, what would you say, Paul, like an advocate, a voice? We want to hear your guys' voice. We want to get you guys the latest and greatest, help you guys change your life and make more money. And I know Paul personally. I wouldn't have guests on the show if I didn't know their heart, for me personally, because I'm really protective of my audience, and I know you are as well, Paul. But Paul and I, we're kindred spirits in the podcasting space, for sure. We want to help you guys grow. We want to help you guys succeed. Paul, I get comments all the time too, DMs. Dude, great podcast today. Paul's podcast was awesome too. I get people sending me yours. I'm like, yeah, dude, I just listened to it already like 20 minutes ago. And so it's super, super exciting. So let's do this. A little segue here, a little transition. Let's talk about the fall tour that you're gonna be going on here. You leave this week. You and I have been talking a couple different times because I asked you after you got back home. I knew you'd need about a week or so to decompress from your summer tour because you went hard, bro. Like you went 3 weeks. You weren't even home. Let's do this. Why don't you tell people about the last tour that you just went on, and that'll kind of give them a little bit of a context for the fall tour that you're going to be going on.
Yeah, so it was a blast. It all started in North Carolina. I interviewed Mitchell Gordy, who is a state highway patrolman. He'll get you if you're speeding through North Carolina, man.
Yep.
Mitchell scares me, man. I'm sitting on his front porch, like I'm pulling out of his driveway. I got to put my blinker on. I'm like, all right, Mitchell, you ain't getting me, man. So,
we got to call him we got to call him Chuckles, man. I always like shoot him a message in DM. I'm like, don't forget the smile. He's doing YouTube now. I'm like, don't forget the smile. It helps everybody, and he's like, oh yeah. And then he like cracks this awkward smile. And I'm like, it's like, he's like learning how to do it for the first time. Anyway, I love Mitchell. We're just having fun, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. He's intimidating because he's got a state highway patrol trucks or cars just sitting there. And then he's like, I think he was being sarcastic, but he doesn't smile. So he's like, don't speed her. I'm going to get you. And I'm like nervous. I'm like, all right. I'm sitting there going 65.
It's true though. It's anyway, true.
That was the kickoff to the tour. And it's just cool to, he took me inside his enclosed trailer. He took me inside. He has 2 shops and inside his home. We sat on his front porch and chatted. So it's just a whole nother unique experience because, as you know, when you call in and you get to talk, it's cool. But when you're actually in someone's home, it's like a whole nother dynamic.
Absolutely.
And I think as people listen, they could sense that because people were like, man, I felt like I was just sitting on the front porch with you guys. And so that's exactly what we wanted to accomplish. So from there, I ended up going up to Virginia, and Seth, the lawn surgeon, he's an OG in the YouTube community. I've never really got to interview him.
Yeah.
So to get to interview him in person, he's another state highway patrol officer, former. He transitioned into his lawn care business. So him and Naylor and Will Rice, we sat out at Naylor's pond. Naylor's like, yeah, come over. I got a lake in my backyard. We're like, what in the world? This is a pond, dude. I mean, you can swim across. Oh man! But anyway,
I was listening to that episode, and you guys are like, "That's like a creek, bro." That was like a small river, and Naylor's like, "It's a lake," and you're like, not by any definition, I know what a lake is. And he was so defending his lake. And he was telling like, well, they were supposed to construction this and add that. And then we never got our sidewalk. We never got our walking path. Like you could tell he was like, like a mid-30s grown man with 2 kids. And, he's getting petty over like little stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, well, but it's funny because he's turning into a grumpy old man, just like all of us. Right. So
well, one of the biggest jobs I've ever done actually in my landscaping business was this beautiful lakefront mansion. Just beautiful place. Mm-hmm, and we took like 115 trees down in this backyard.
Wow.
It was incredible. But this thing is like, when I say it's on a lake, it's on a lake. Like, boats and, Ben Roethlisberger's the guy's next door neighbor. He's the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm sitting there working. I'm like, that's Big Ben.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I think when I hear lakefront property. So Naylor's like, yeah, come on over to my lakefront property and we'll sit on the back porch. So I had in mind that it was going to be the same. So it was a major letdown when I show up and it's, you can skip the rock across this pond, but nevertheless,
but when he goes, when he goes to sell that home though, it's lakefront property, right? He's going to put that on the sign. So we could, good for you, Naylor.
And shout out to Naylor because he's actually flying. We'll get to this in a minute.
Yeah,
he's flying to join me. And the reason he's doing that, I was mentioning on my podcast, I kept fumbling and stumbling around with all the technology. Cause it's like, I'm sitting here trying to do the interview and me and you were, it took us like 12 minutes just to get out. We don't do this full time. And it took us like 10 minutes before we even started this episode trying to figure out all the gadgets and the connections. And so I was struggling with all of that on the road because I was doing this by myself. And Naylor had the light bulb moment. He's like, dude, you need someone to help you. And I was like, yeah. I was like, just if I could have somebody to help me. And he's like, well, what about me? And I was like, well, let's do it.
Let's go. Yeah.
That's kind of how happened is he wants to make sure, because he's got experience with cameras and audio and all that he's like, I can help you get all that set up. So moving along, I went to Maryland and got to go to Wright Manufacturing, which was awesome, and Mulchmate, Nick Carlson, and hang out with some other guys there, Kyle Parks and Zach Jones, and go to the Atlantic Ocean. And then from there, I went to Allman's, headquarters. I just saw you and Liz there, and got to hang out with him, and then Sean and TQ. So by the time I did all that, I was ready for, like a week vacation at the beach. I was exhausted.
I bet.
And then I show up in Michigan, and Brian's like, hey, you want to go shoot? And I was like, all right, Brian wants to shoot Brian wants to shoot a YouTube video at his 3 acres. Like that's what I thought. We're gonna go shoot, walking around his property, and Teddy's gonna be running around on the 3 acres. We're gonna shoot a video. So I was like, yeah. And then he shows up with this rifle and all these guns. He's like, hey, let's go shoot. I was like, oh, you meant shoot guns.
Yeah, so, that was some miscommunication.
Hey.
Well, it's funny because we're in the range and it's just boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, Paul, you up? You're like, just go ahead, man. Like, you just take another mag. Just go for it. And I got a rule. If you come shooting with me ever, like someone's shooting, someone's loading. That's the rule of the range because that it's expensive time, And so I look back. I'm like, Paul's just putting the bullets in the mag, and I'm like, Paul, you up? He's like, you go ahead. You go ahead. And so anyway, we called you sharpshooter by the end of the night, man, because people wouldn't believe me if I told them how good of a shot you are after that night. You know what I'm saying, Paul? So it was.
Hey, when you live in the North Georgia mountains, man, you get some practice down here, man.
Yeah. We're gonna call you a shooter from here on out. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so you guys can tell there's a story that happened in between there. So, so you come over to my place. You're beat. You're already exhausted. Like you do like the YouTube, podcasting. Like how's it going, man? You're like, awesome, great. And I'm like, dude, I can see the dark circles under your eyes. Your eyes are puffy. Like I know you haven't showered or slept for days and weeks. You know what I mean? Because I do it too. And but I was like, Paul, we got you. Like if you need halls, I've got a bag of halls right here on my studio because your voice gets raspy after 1 or 2 podcasts. And Liz had waters, we had food, we got coffee, we got pizzas, steaks, whatever we could do to host you so you didn't have to think about a thing. But it was so exciting having you over here. What I didn't expect though is that you were like a label guy. Like it wasn't just tap water. You wanted Pellegrino. So we had to send Liz to the store to Costco and we bought 2 cases of Pellegrino.
Oh man, Mark Parker won't let me hear the end of that because I asked Liz when I was in your kitchen. There's a Pellegrino sitting next to the refrigerator, and it wasn't. No one drank it. So I'm not going to be shy. So Liz comes down in the garage. She's like, can I get you guys anything? And I said, yeah. I was like, can I have a Pellegrino? And Mark Parker, you should have seen his face. He looked at me and just stared at me like, who asked for a Pellegrino? And he's like, you got your pinky in there? And then he just started drilling me and making fun of me. And then Liz comes down with tap water. I'm like, what's this? I was like, I wanted that Pellegrino.
Mark's like the guy that'll like drink from the garden hose. Mark does the chainsaw stuff that you guys always see on my channel. He's a really, really good dude. And but he like, we know that Paul's not falutin, but when he came in and exactly what you just said, you go, well, I'll take a Pellegrino. The eyes of the eyes of judgment from Mark Parker was like, bro, you're a landscaper. Like we drink out of garden hoses, and here you are, pinky up for your Pellegrino.
He didn't know the backstory, so he's like, who's this joker asking for a Pellegrino? And like he like stared at me like he was ready to fight or something. He's like, come on, dude. He's like, I'll take he's sizing me up. I'll take tap water. And it's like, oh man.
Well, that's where the running joke for Paul from Pellegrino. But it's weird though. I don't know though, Paul. I don't know, because every time I catch you on Instagram stories, you're coming out of Piggly Wiggly or whatever you guys got down there, and you're always carrying an extra case of Essentia or Pellegrino, and I'm like, man, like this guy, it's like when rock stars go on tour, and like they have their contract for the venue, and like they're like, well, I want my fridge always stocked with Nesquik chocolate milk, and I want red and blue M&Ms only, right? Like these celebrities, they get very like, full of themselves, very diva, very falutin, right? And so I don't know, like if that's in your future contract, Paul, where we got to make sure that there's always Pellegrino stocked in the fridge, or is that how this is working now? Are you like next level?
Well, the beautiful thing is Kevin Fall River is one of our tour stops. He's in Arkansas.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Him and I have been DMing back and forth on, times, and actually we're going to do a collaboration with Blake Hawthorne and Kevin Fall River and Naylor, and it's going to be awesome.
Awesome.
Down there in Arkansas. But he said, hey, bro, he's really organized and on top of things. He's like, hey, I got everything ready, and the Pellegrino will be waiting for you. So, I was like, oh man.
Well, if Pellegrino wants to send us a quarter for every time we say their freaking name, we'll cash the check, I guess. We got to keep the lights on here somehow, right? So that was the summer tour, and you did how many stops did you? Or not how many stops, but how many episodes did you do? Oh yeah. You still went after that.
Yeah, you wore me out, dude. I literally drove to Dylan Stevenson's house, which was
That's
awesome.
Right. Shout out to Dylan.
And I was so tired. We went out to dinner, and then I went to Cincinnati, and I just like the whole next day I just slept for like an entire day, and I'm like, what in the world just happened? Like, I don't know if you've ever like worked so hard that you like forget. Like I was like going through sending Marty all these files. Like, I interviewed who? Like, I didn't even know. I didn't even remember I interviewed. I was like, it was so much fun though. And then you guys, it's like 12:30. I usually go to bed at 9:30. Parker's probably laughing at that too. But I go to bed early, and then it's like 12:30, and you and Keith Kalthus are talking algorithms and all this stuff in the parking lot at that. What was that?
Black Rock.
Where you could oh man, that place is awesome. That place is awesome. Well, you should have saw John Pajak. His steak's sitting there sizzling, and this guy was like, he thought he was in heaven, man.
He's mowing down. Well, it is funny because like if somebody's not a super late night owl, like you can tell. Like my younger brother, he's like Mr. CrossFit. He works out, and it's funny because dude, he's in bed 10 o'clock. And like he'll come over, like we'll play games like Friday, Saturday, like game night, play board games, play video games or something like that, just kind of veg out. And like 9:45, he's just slowing down, and he's like about to shut it down. And he's like, all right, it's 10 o'clock, I gotta go. I'm like, it's 10 o'clock. I'm like, dude, 10 o'clock to me is like 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Okay, like I don't even wake up until 10 o'clock at night. Like I am a 10 to 2 a.m. kind of guy. I'm a night owl, but it was funny because I told Liz, she goes, well, is Paul gonna, make it while he's up here doing like 10 episodes in like 2 days? I go, I don't know. I mean, he said like line up a couple guests. I said, to me, why wouldn't you line up 15 people, not 2 people? I don't know. If you guys know me in real life, I'm like, it's like trying to consume me is like drinking through a fire hose. Okay. Like I just don't turn it off. It's just go. Even Mike Bedell, one of my best friends, Bedell is like, he's like, Fullerton, like, dude, just relax a little bit. I'm like, let's go. And it can get exhausting. And so, but it was just funny because after like those 2 days, I was like, dude, we just wiped out Paul, and he was already like probably coming in on fumes. You know what I mean? So,
right. But the momentum of that, it's called Black Rock, right?
Yeah. Black Rock. Yeah. Yep.
The momentum of that is we had this quarantine. So a lot of people we're not used to like hanging out in groups and having fun and fellowshipping. And so John Pajak came over from Indiana, Joseph DePace drove in an hour, Keith and Ashley, they came in, and then, Bedell came in, and then obviously you and Liz. And so we're all like, there's just all this momentum. All 8 of us are like, we're just, no one wanted to leave.
Yeah.
Except me. I'm like, I got to go to bed. And you guys are all like, someone's like, it's 12:30. Oh my gosh. And then we go in the parking lot, and it's like, oh man. God. But that was so much fun, dude. I had so much fun. I think everyone else did as well.
After that, you went to Dylan with Solo Cuts. Every time I say Dylan on a podcast, he shoots me a text message. You said my name. Yes, Dylan, we love you. Dylan.
Yeah, well, he texted me one day. He's like, dude, you made me cry. Or Liz made me cry because Liz said something on your podcast. Or no, on my most popular episode was episode 200. Which a cool thing about this, Brian, we were going to film that episode or shoot that episode on Saturday night. That was the original plan after we had Black Rock.
Right.
And I was so tired. And I was like, I was kind of putting the clues out like, hey, maybe we can punt this to the morning. And you're like, yeah, just swing by at 10 a.m. and we'll bang it out. And I'm glad we did that because I think the atmosphere of the morning and Timmy Hose and Teddy and whatever, it just, for you guys who probably have all listened to this episode, if you haven't, the fruit of that episode is I have a vision board. Literally, I'm looking at it right now in my office. Brian and Liz shared their story of how they went from that raggedy 1-bedroom apartment with stains on the floor and this giant debt to making effort paying off that debt. And then it was bizarre sitting there because I felt like you guys are building this dream property, and then you're telling the story of how in 2018 you had the goal to build the dream property, and then it was like all connecting. You're like, oh, it's actually happening, and you guys start crying, and I'm sitting there, and I had a tear in my eye, and then when I listened back to it, I cried like a baby, and then I just started getting all these messages from all these men who said, hey, that episode made me cry. Hey, I've listened 4 times to that episode, and so that's been literally, guys, we've done 245 episodes on my Green Industry podcast, and that episode is just, it's the most popular one because your guys' story is so powerful. Because we all have those moments where we're in the 1-bedroom apartment with the stains on the floor. It might not look the same, but we're kind of in that difficult spot in life. And then to hear you guys come through that and are walking in your destiny, it gives hope. And so anyway, I'm glad that it all worked out at Black Rock. Staying so late because I don't think our episode would have turned out as good if we did it, that late. We're all tired and everything because it turned out awesome.
Episode 200, Paul's podcast, Green Industry Podcast. Not to promote me, but for real, go support Paul's podcast. Go check it out. Honestly, it was such a fun episode to do, but I didn't know that it would have the same impact that it did. But we were just talking about how we were debt burdened, good debt, but still debt, and we wanted to pay off some things. We had some bad debt too, but my lawn landscape business was a struggle the first decade, and that's kind of what we talked about. And then the last 4 years, getting to meet this YouTube community, the lawn care community, my friend Mike Bedell, a Keith Kalfas, a Stanley Dirt Monkey, a Paul Jamison. With those folks, they've helped me revolutionize my business. You guys know on my podcast, I sincerely try not to talk top down. I'm not the guru. Like, we're all learning this together, as kumbaya as that sounds. But the last 3 years have been transformative. I literally was just texting Bedell like an hour ago, and I said, it's crazy the last 36 months, bro, because he was having a good week, some good things going on with his life and his business. But again, like we're all in this together. It's just exciting to see breakthrough. I think a lot of us, there's a lot of struggle in life. Let's be honest, but I don't talk about the struggle. I like talking about the victory. And we've had some victory the last, 6 to 12, 18 months. And it's been just one thing that we want to glorify God. We just want to glorify this community and just spread some hope. And so if you didn't check that one out, I didn't know it had the impact because I had, Paul, same thing. I had like 40, 50 people DM me. They're like, thanks, Brian. And I'm like, what's up, dude? They're like, way to make me cry at 9 a.m. while I'm mowing this customer's lawn. The lawn, the stripes are all zigzaggy because I couldn't keep the dang mower straight because I was crying. And, I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah. And there was a couple pretty heartfelt moments in there. So it was.
And I think what generated the tears was the sacrifice because you got, Liz is sharing this story like, hey, I don't have the Louis Vuitton purse anymore. I don't want to have this flashy lifestyle. I don't want to have the Escalade. I'll drive the Jetta until we get this next, financial milestone. And so you guys took the sacrifice with the purse, with the vehicles, and the biggest one of all, probably with the 1-bedroom apartment, when you could have easily justified going to a upgrade of lifestyle. You're like, no, let's live rice and beans for this season so that we can do it the right way. And to see you do that and actually live it out, it gives you the authority to share the story and to say, guys, this is the blueprint. And so I know that made me cry. And I got so many messages, dude, of people saying, you made me cry. And then in that episode, Liz mentioned Dylan Stevenson, and he started crying. He messaged me. He's like, "Oh, Liz said my name," and I started crying.
Liz made a good comment. She's like, "We'll just cry our way to wealth. All of us, everybody listening in, we'll just pound pavement. Take it on the chin. We'll just keep growing our companies, and we'll all make it in together. It is a super fun conversation and community for sure. I don't want to leave anybody out because after Dylan, you went to Pro Cut Lawn Care. Cody and Courtney.
And that was kind of, it is interesting because now you guys know the kind of a story with Cody and Courtney, but I was the first guest at their new home And I got to go in there, and they're like, Paul, will you pray for us? So I'm like, yeah. I mean, you asked me to pray for your new home. You know, I'm from an old school prayer meeting here, you know, so I'm praying, you know, we're in the, you know, it's Friday night and we're praying in his home for the, you know, them to walk in the fullness of God's plans. And so the last month of their life, God's really been doing stuff. So I'm like, oh, cool. Like, it's just been, that was a really unique timing that, you know, I kind of went there at kind of the perfect time, if you will. And, you know, got to establish a relationship with Cody and Courtney. And that was so interesting, though, because they actually are building the home that you see on YouTube, but they're living in their old home. So they're like, you can stay in our new home. And there's all these cows, Brian. So I'm not used to cows at midnight. I don't know if they were making love or I don't know what they were doing, but they were making all these weird noises, not like moos. They were more like moos, you know? So I was like, what are they doing at midnight? I don't even know. Like, I should have paid more attention in science class, but I think they were getting some love, you know? And so I could not sleep. It's like midnight. It's like 1 a.m. I'm like, surely they're getting tired or something, but these cows just were making all these noises all night. And so by the time that I woke up the next morning, I was really tired, and I went and hung out with some football. It would be like a football podcast.
I heard that one. The Tennessee guy or something, right?
Yeah, it was a miracle play. They won the national championship in 1998, and the game was over for all practical purposes. And this player's like, no, I'm going to go, you know, cause a fumble. And it would have been impossible, you know, for guys who follow college football, you know, the play, it was crazy, but he spoke it into existence, and lo and behold, he went, caused the quarterback to fumble, recovered it. Tennessee gets a miracle win, and they go on to win the whole thing. Crazy story. Yeah. And crazy story. How in the world I got connected with this guy. That is wild. Well, I got invited to his home, so I interviewed him. It
was funny because I you know, there's podcasts or episodes or titles, and you know, it's so weird because we always judge content like a book cover, right? Titles and thumbnails, titles or, you know, the hype on them, and like, you know, not that it had a bad title or anything. It was about football and this, like, the winning touchdown or whatever. And I was like, what is this? I don't even know what this episode is, because I think the same way you guys do. I'm like, oh, they want to like get me into it and like click me into it, you know. But I listen to everything anyway. I always try to nip that in the bud. Like, I listen to everybody's videos or everybody's podcast because you never know what you're going to learn. And you might even learn what you don't like or what not to do, right? Like, so I learned from the good episodes. I learned from the maybe not a good episode, but not that there's good or bad episodes on either of our podcasts, but I still listened to that one, and I took away some nuggets from it. The guy that was talking, he was like, he was just a really cool, like, cat. You could just tell he was really chill. And it was, you could hear him come alive too, telling the story, back, whatever it was, 10, 20, 30 years ago. I don't even know. But that was really, really cool. Well, let's do this. So that's the summer tour. How many episodes did you get out of the summer tour? We're just out of curiosity. It's got to be 15, 20.
Yeah, north of 20. Yeah, I would say at least 20. We'll put it at that. It was well over a month worth of content from the fall road tour. And Marty was back here with, you know, Martha in Atlanta, and then I would put the file on Google Drive. Yeah, he'd grab it. He did all the quarterbacking, as you would say. So I definitely got to give a shout out to him because he worked tirelessly. You know, I would do the interview, and then by the next morning, it would be up for all of us to listen to in real time. So big shout out to him for doing that throughout the tour, working overtime. So that was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We couldn't do it without him. You know, it's funny. We just watched the, well, if you had the misfortune of watching the debates with Trump and Biden, it was probably a week ago by the time you guys hear this podcast, it was a complete crap show. But I saw the day of, I saw all these memes about like the drinking game, right, Paul? It's like if Biden says, come on, man. And if Trump says millions and billions, right? So it's like all these different games out there. And all these memes were going crazy on social media. We need to get a meme for Paul and myself. Like anytime Paul says jokers, right? You got to take a shot. Anytime, you know, Brian says, I got to get a sip of water, you got to take a shot. Anytime you said the word quarterback, you gotta you know, drink something. I don't drink, but you guys know what I'm saying. We'll drink it.
What about gob of a gob?
Gob of a gob. Yes, exactly. Gob of a gob. Anytime, I don't know, like there's got to be like these idiosyncrasy go-to sayings that we always say, and we all got our dorky personalities that we make.
It's funny when it infiltrates, because I was talking to Marty on the phone, and he said, we were talking about something. He's like, oh, he has a gob. And I was like, when did you start saying gob? Like, we're sitting here talking off air, and now it's a part of his everyday vocabulary. For those of you, well, I'm sure everyone knows, but a gob of a gob is a large sum of money in the Fullerton vocabulary.
It's a lot, man. It's not all, but it's almost there. It's a gab of a gob. I don't know, dude. All right. Well, let's do this. Let's kick it over to Marty, Mr. Producer, because we can only imagine what he's going to be saying next as he produces the show. It's always funny because no matter what happens between Paul and I, Marty always gets the last word. So let's do this. Let's kick it over to Marty, Mr. Producer, for the show announcements and the sponsors one more time, and we'll come right on back.
I honestly don't know what to say. I wish my wife was as effusive with praise the way that these two jokers are. Thanks, guys, for the kind words. Thank you to GIE To Go for helping pay the bills. Tell you what, let's do a quick word from them, and then I'll be right back to do some ratings and reviews.
Are you ready for GIE Plus Expo?
What?
Yes, GIE Plus Expo is coming to you now. It's GIEExpo2go.com, your new online connection to hundreds of new products, industry resources, and solutions to help you grow your business. GIE Expo To Go is packed with your favorite exhibitors' latest innovations, demo videos, event links, and more. Plus, you can set up your own My2Go show planner to gain exclusive access to show specials and discounts. Test yet? It's all free. So what are you waiting for? Go to GIEExpo2go.com and start exploring today.
Ratings and reviews.
Each week, we take a minute to highlight your guys' reviews of the show.
Here we go. Our first 5-star comes from Narwhals, NARWHALLS. Brian, I absolutely love your podcast, and listening to you while I'm mowing all day helps make time go by. And before I know it, I'm done with the day. You give some solid advice and things that I never thought of before myself. I appreciate all you do for the community, and I wish you the best of luck with your business. Keep it up. This one's from Mike. Mike says, thank you, Brian, for continuing to give back to our community with the plethora, I guess some people say plethora, with the plethora of content that you guys put out. I am continuing to learn at least one thing from each show, either from you or one of the guests that you have on. Keep it up, dude. And his handle, MH Landscape, out of New York and Connecticut. From Law and Order NRV, not Law and Order, but Law and Order NRV. Keep it up. Great information across the board. You have me thinking about how to make my business better. Mitchell says, love the podcast. Hey, Brian, it's Mitchell Winchester from northeastern Montana. I'm the owner and operator of Mitchell's Lawn and Landscape, and I would like to thank you for everything you do. You're a true inspiration. I would still be the 16-year-old kid with the Craftsman lawn tractor pulling my push mower around if you hadn't gotten on social media. So keep doing what you're doing, man. And we got time for one more. This guy calls himself One Fear. Brian, I appreciate all you do to help us lawn lovers. I'm 47 with 6 years left before I can retire from the state. I just bought a Toro 60-inch and a trailer, and I want to start next spring cutting some yards and getting my foot in the door for my next phase of life. I want to retire and be on lawn care. I guess that's better than retiring and being on some sort of end-of-life care or hospice care. Always put your relationship with Christ first, and we agree with that. Love your wife and your family unconditionally, then keep the good content and help for all of us coming. Much love. And again, that's from One Fear.
Want us to read your review next? Let us know how we're doing, and we might just read your review on next week's show.
All right, guys. Well, good deal. Well, let's jump right back into the fall road tour. So, Paul, super excited about this. I know this is a dream of yours to not only go on tour, but to continue the tour. So give these guys the lay of the land, bro. I don't even know if you broke down like the full schedule on your podcast, but I'm excited. I didn't really know what to expect from the summer tour. I'm like, yeah, Paul's going to go meet a couple people. It's going to be fun. But I didn't know that it would be as good as it was, as well received as it was, because here's why, Paul. And maybe you know this, Paul, but maybe you don't. But people listening in, like, I get the same messages that you probably do, but it's a shot in the arm every single day for these guys out there listening in. It's that encouragement, that motivation, that fortitude, right? It's the armor that they put on every day. And between my podcast and your podcast, I know it makes a difference for these guys listening in. Honestly, guys, it makes a difference for me. Like there's times where I'm not feeling motivated in the morning, or, I have a customer that chews me out because we missed the spot. Like it happens to me too. But you know what? I throw my headphones back on. I'm listening to the Green Industry Podcast. I get my mind right. And you know what? The sun, comes out, the clouds part, and it feels good to just have that shot in the arm every day of that positive attitude. So Paul, I don't know if you know how big of a difference you're making out there with changing families and changing people's businesses, but I know you have been. So we're excited to see what you get coming down the pipe for the next 3 weeks, man. So can you take it away? I'm going to let you do most of the talking here. What's the fall road tour? Who's on it? Where you going? We can't wait to hear all the deets.
Absolutely. So let me start off with gratitude and Thanksgiving to Brian. He was my first sponsor for the tour and just kind of kickstarted that. And he's like, hey, Launchpreneur Academy, count us in. We are going to sponsor the fall road tour.
Heck yeah.
Echo sponsored the summer tour. Big shout outs to them. And Brian was like, hey, you got my spot. Reserve my spot. And so thank you to Launchpreneur Academy. And we're going to make the goal for October 2020 to be the most explosive month at Launchpreneur Academy, for the resources there, just to be helping a lot of people. So we're very excited to get to promote Launchpreneur Academy, and honored and grateful that you took the initiation. It wasn't me asking Brian. Brian took the initiative to let me know Launchpreneur Academy is going to back this tour. So I'm thankful. Naylor's thankful. Go ahead.
I just want to jump in because I want you guys to know, and you guys already know what I'm going to say next, but it all goes full circle, man. Like we're not like here to like just make money and get rich. Like, come on. Like I want to take what you guys invest into my training company, and we take that and we reinvest into the community. We reinvest into camera gear, podcast gear. My only shame is that I couldn't subsidize or write a check to Paul for the full amount for him to go on tour, because he needs a couple sponsors, because it's tens of thousands of dollars if you think about it, with gas, food, hotel, travel, opportunity costs back, running his actual landscaping business. And so I said, Paul, like, what's the tiers, or what's the rates, or how much? And some of you guys listen in, if I told you what we wrote checks for, you'd be like, dang, that's pretty impressive. Not because of us, but because it just takes so much money to do this stuff. Like, we're running a live event here early November 7th, going to be an incredible time. It's like throwing on a wedding. It's going to be 20s to 30s of thousands of dollars to do a live event. It's insane. I'm transparent. It costs money. I mean, to come up with this content, it is, you can do 1 or 2 videos, but
you're doing that on a shoestring budget. I work in event planning back in the day, and I mean, I know some of these are a lot more than that. You're doing it well.
Oh yeah. Well,
yeah.
That lot of hookups, lot of great networking, a lot of favor exchanging, if you know what I'm saying. I'm just like trying to help other people and them help me. But that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to take some of the money we made from YouTube and the training programs, sew it back into Paul, keep this not for me. Like I'm not a hero, but I know how valuable this content would have helped me 10 years ago. I know how much it helps you guys in the beginning. So some of you guys are only been in business for the first few couple years, and man, the learning curve that you guys are experiencing listening to the Paul show, it's insane. I wish we had a resources like this. Paul and I always say we wish we had a resource like this 10, 15 years ago, but Paul, happy to do it. I told Paul, you don't have to go knock on doors. You don't have to be a used car salesman. How much? What can I do? Here's a blank check. I told you before you left, blank check, whatever you want. I don't even care, because I believe in Paul, and I know how hard it is. Like, go to a company, got your little hat in hand, and you're like, hey, would you like to sponsor my show or sponsor this video, or these $1 billion companies, and then they're like, well, what's the metrics? What's the reports? What's this? And I'm like, who cares? Who cares? Like, we're sewing into the community. Why don't you? Like, there's more people at our level growing the community in the industry than even some of the big people. But God bless them. We're all in it together. But anyway, Paul, I'm not a return on investment kind of guy. I am, but I'm a Paul Jamison fan. And so whatever I can do to help you hit your dreams and goals, bro, I'm not, the Green Industry Podcast fan, although I am. I'm what can I do for Paul Jamison? Because Paul Jamison's a good dude, and I just want to back a brother up, man. So whatever you need, dude, you got my resources. That's called partnership. So we're so happy to do it, man. But go ahead, take it away. Sorry to interrupt. I know I said I wouldn't do the talking, but go ahead, take it away.
All right, so we got a 3-man team here. So it's going to be Naylor Taliaferro, as we mentioned earlier in the show, from LCR Media. he's coming in from Virginia, so he's going to fly and meet me in Missouri, where we're going to get everything kicked off. And
Shout
then
out
Marty's
to Naylor.
going to be shout outs and have your sip for my quarterback reference here. But Marty's going to be quarterbacking back here with man. If you guys saw how fine Martha was, it would all make sense. Why it takes a lot to get Marty on the road. But, anyway, he's got his setup here, and it's really helpful because we'll be able to sit with Blake Albertson and Natalie, interview them, and then immediately send the file, and then the next day you guys get to listen to it. And that's the companionship of like not every single person in our community gets to go to Blake Albertson's house.
Okay,
but it's kind of like vicariously we all get to do it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I feel this gratitude and thankfulness that I get these experiences, but it's like I'm sharing it with the community. Like, you're sitting on the front porch with me listening in is the type of feel that the summer tour certainly had, and we hope to reciprocate that with the tour. So Missouri,
cool.
You got in Kansas City, Blake and Natalie. We're going to be hanging out with them on Saturday, and Natalie said we're going to go get KC barbecue. I guess that's a thing.
Okay, cool.
She's like, we got to do KC barbecue. I'm like, all right, whatever. And then Danny Lanier, he's there. He's we're gonna interview him as well. He's like an hour from Blake. It's nice how they got like a little cluster there.
Yep.
And then there's another podcaster, Britt Dowd. He has Lawn Care Leaders podcast, and I believe his company is about $1 million. They do Furt and Squirt.
Yep. So, we've had Britt on here. Yeah, he's a great dude. Really good guy.
Yeah, so I'm excited to go. Check out his shop and all of that. And then I'm headed over to Illinois. Alex Nickens, he's a YouTuber and got a operation. So he's over there in Illinois near St. Louis. So we're going to do kind of a St. Louis area there. And then Cameron Duncan, do you know him?
Yep.
From Poplar, Missouri, something like that.
Poplar.
And so, so it's near Alex Nickens. I got a map in my office with all these different routes and opportunities, and I don't do like the recalculating lady on your phone. I'm like old school. I'm like, it makes sense to do this and then that and then this and then that.
There you go.
And so from there, we'll go to Arkansas, which you got, as I mentioned earlier, Blake Hawthorne.
Yep.
A lot of Blakes on this tour. It's his turf. So it's $1 million company, and he does a really cool thing of really helping these young men blossom as men, not just as employees. So I'm really interested to hear kind of how he does that operation, because for so many of us, it's difficult to really have quality guys. I know you're blessed with Rob, and I'm blessed, with some awesome people here in Atlanta, but I get a lot of DMs like, how do you find good help?
Yeah.
How do you establish a culture? And so I'm really, curious to Blake, like how, because it seems like he has a really good team there. So we'll get interview with him. And then Kevin Fall River is also in Arkansas. So that will be another interview there. Then we're headed north to Iowa. Corey Ballard's one of the sponsors of the show with Ballard Products. And so I know you were just there.
Yeah.
I feel like we're following each other around. You were there and I'm there. I was at Caleb's and you're at Caleb's. It's like we're like a month away from, what I mean, at these legends places.
Yeah.
So that'll be a lot of fun.
Corey's awesome, man. You got to do some video there with Perfect Cut and Ballard Products. A lot of you guys do the Brian 10 code for Corey. That guy is shipping 200, 300, 400 orders a day. Like, he's changing the game with you guys with products and services to help you guys have more profitable businesses for your equipment, like Ripper blades, razor blades, Catch Pros, gloves, hats, masks, like crazy stuff. And thank you sincerely for the support too, because literally that's through supporting those affiliates and the other affiliate sponsors, like we're able to write a check to Paul and not think twice. Like it's really, really special. So I just, I know we talk about it a lot, but I don't want to gloss over it. But Paul, you got to go and see both of his setups. Like Corey's butt kicker, dude. He's a great guy, and he's coming in to speak at our live event. But make sure you get video. Don't just do a podcast with him. Make sure you get video, because that guy, he's got a tight operation. So
yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, can you still hear me?
Yeah, you're here, brother. Yep, you're good.
Okay. Naylor was calling me on the other line.
Oh,
so I don't even know.
He's already trying to get on the show.
Yeah, I could have done that, but I don't know how to do that.
No,
I don't know how.
I don't know. My Cricket Wireless doesn't do that, so I don't know.
Okay. Well, anyway, The Corey Ballard, that's going to be awesome in Iowa. And then Andrew, he works with, he does some marketing with Toro. Yeah. He lives there in Iowa. So I'm going to stop by and grab some lunch. I gain so much weight at I don't eat pizza. And you brought, what was it called? Jets Pizza or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that I'm not going to go through the lineup, but Brian had me breakfast, lunch, dinner, day in and day out for 3 days. So I gained a lot of weight, but I'm going to eat good, I guess, with the KC barbecue. And Andrew's bragging about those Iowa, whatever they're known for. Maybe we'll have some corn or something. And then, or is that Nebraska? I don't know.
Who knows, man?
So from there, I'm headed. The final leg of the trip is going to be Minnesota, where you have Sean Staley Hustle, Brian Ring, and then we're going to end the tour at Toro, who's going to be one of the sponsors. And they're in Bloomington, Minnesota, not Bloomington, Indiana, Bloomington, Minnesota. And that will kind of be the finale of the tour. So it's going to be so much fun. And I'm appreciative of Entrepreneur Academy sponsoring the show. And I'm just really excited. I know that it's fun quality content to listen to. Just these conversations, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, that's going to be really, really cool. Are you shooting some video now too, or are you just going to be doing podcasting? Because I know you said Naylor's doing the video. So how does that going to come together? Are you guys like tag teaming? Is it going to be on his channel, your channel, or where can they find all this?
Yeah, we're going to have it. We're going to have it. So Naylor's, guys, we need to help him. He's at 9,000. 9.9 subs on the YouTube, so he's about to hit that 10,000 milestone. Do you remember when you hit 10,000 subs, Brian?
Yeah, I was the guy that bumped Naylor over to 5,000, man. So when he gets his plaque, I want it like a mini plaque. I'm just kidding, Paul. I'm just kidding, Naylor, if he's listening. But Naylor came in, was it a year ago? We did the Get to Know the Pro thing 2 years ago, and he was like 3,700, and like 1,000 people went over there. And if he comes back, we'll do another one. But Naylor doesn't come up here. He's down in Virginia, man. He's living the lake life. You know what I mean? So he doesn't have time for us. So riding those jet skis. The
pond life. Yeah. So oh man, you ain't having no jet ski in that thing. So he's going to be having videos on the LCR YouTube page, and he'll have his own little take on it. And then I'll be doing a lot more videos because I dropped the ball with videos on the summer tour because I was so overwhelmed. I had some videos up there, but we're going to try to video record every single interview, just kind of like what you did with Jeff Joyner and what you've been doing with Troy Clogg. And I'm trying to feel if guys enjoy that or not. I know for podcasting, it's just so much easier to pick podcasts on your phone, put your phone in your pocket, and you're good.
Right.
But some people want to see Blake's backyard and Blake's twins, or just stuff like that. I'll try to capture throughout the tour.
Sure.
And my YouTube channel, I think I have like 4,000 subscribers, Brian. So I need some help with that. I need to beef that up. But I will be posting on YouTube throughout the tour. So
I love it, man.
There you go.
When do you leave? When can guys expect these podcasts to start dropping?
Yeah, Monday, October 12th is when the first episode will come out. So we'll be going that weekend. We'll be in Kansas City, but I upload Monday through Friday. So that Monday, October 12th, we'll start. And then once they start, we're just, they're going to be flowing out. And we're going to try to do something a little different. Where the episodes have been so long, we're actually going to set them into like part A and part B. So you'll have one episode on Monday and then the second part of the conversation on Tuesday. We're going to try that formula throughout the tour and see how that goes. So and Mr. Producer will be, taking care of all of that. So.
I like it, man. Well, he's the quarterback of the show. Take a sip, take a shot. So anyway, but
I tried not to say it, but
he's honestly, he runs my podcast. Like I love Marty. Like he's a great dude. Like him and I were just emailing today. He shot me an invoice for the production for the podcast for September, paid it in 10 seconds. I said, dude, thank you so much. And he's just on it, dude. He's like, anything can help you to announcements or latest and greatest or news. And then he also comes up with creative ideas. I'm like, he thinks more about my podcast than I think about my podcast, which is insane.
Yeah. Did you hear that Fullerton Rewind thing? That was cool.
Yeah. Dude, I try to shoot him a text message at least once a day when I listen to the episode. Cause, I'm just thankful. I'm like, oh, we dropped a podcast today. Like I'm trying to learn how to grow my companies and, outsource and scale. Just like some of you guys listening in, you're trying to grow things and you got to rely on people. And it's new for me. I don't have it all figured out. But like Keith Kalfas always talks about virtual assistants and hiring people. And Caleb Allman is always talking about like, having guys in the field and production. And I'm like, I'm learning just like you guys. Again, I'm not top down, but man, you want to talk about hiring somebody and partnering them with somebody. Marty carries the show. And by the way, if you guys haven't followed him on, Paul, what's his handle on Instagram? At Mr. Producer USA?
Mr. Producer USA. Yeah. We're trying. I'm trying. Go ahead.
Well, he's awesome, man. So if you guys ever need like voiceover work, or if you guys need like commercials, let's say you shoot like a Facebook video, and it's like a minute long. One of your friends gets a nice camera, and you just need some voiceover work. Like, hey, if you live in like the Traverse City area, are you looking for a lawn and landscaping company? Check out Traverse City Landscaping. Our full range of products. He can do that stuff. If you guys have ever seen or heard his voiceover work on Keith Kalfas'
Jimmy
video.
Kimmel.
Maybe I don't know if he was on Jimmy Kimmel. Well, his I don't know if that's a joke, but his voiceover work on Keith Kalfas' videos were incredible. And I mean, it's pretty nominal, guys. Like $100-$200, you're good to go. But he's got that golden voice. I don't know. We never see him on a video though. You know what I'm saying, Paul? So I always get kind of concerned. Is he like the radio face? Or you said Martha's got the looks, but how's Marty doing? So, oh no, Marty, if you're listening, get in. Please don't delete my podcast. So, all right. Well, we'll just awkwardly transition from there. I'm going to take a sip of water and keep talking. So, this is really good, man. Well, so let's ask this. You're going to be running the whole podcast going for about the later 3 weeks of October. And then we hope to have you up here for Launchpreneur Academy and maybe get you 5-10 more podcasts and hopefully bring these guys a bunch of content through November. How does that sound?
Yeah, that's going to be so much fun, man. I'm hoping you'll set me up like a little, table or desk in the corner or the closet or bathroom. I mean, I don't care where. But the thing of live events is everyone's so hyped up. Like everyone's so pumped up. There's just this energy that's in the room because you got a whole bunch of lawn care professionals, landscapers, hardscapers. Caleb Wallman will be there. And there's just this buzz of excitement. Yeah. And so to get the podcast from events like that, it's so awesome because when you listen to it, even when I listen to the episodes back, I'm like, man, that was so good. Because you can't create that atmosphere unless you're there and it's happening. And last year I didn't podcast at your event. I podcasted in the hotel after, which it turned out awesome. So Stan Genetic and Sean Spencer and Keith, and those were some popular episodes as well. Caleb Brittany Allman, Blake Albertson. But those were like late night hotel sessions when everyone was kind of tired and everything. But it'll be really cool to do some episodes actually on site at the what's it called, Show Place something. Yeah, so
Suburban Show Place, guys. November 7th. It's a Saturday. It's 8 to 5:30. Don't sleep on it. If you know you're coming and you're one of those like last minute people, this is not the thing to be last minute on. Like live events, don't be that guy because we're going to shut the registration down end of October. We've got about 60 more tickets left at the time of this recording, and we're selling about 5 to 10 tickets a day for people to make the event. Ever since we got the all clear last week, Monday, from our governor, she put us into like phase 5 reopening, which means it's like just one notch below Gestapo because the whole state is still shut down. And I don't like my governor, and I'm very public about that because she's a butthead. She's just crushing small businesses. But anyway, but she did open up movie theaters, bowling alleys, and event space. So it's like 20 people per 1,000, but this place is 1 million square foot. Okay, it's huge. The ballroom that we got, we went from the Platinum Ballroom that could sit about 200, and I rented out 8 ballrooms that could sit 475.
Come on.
Yeah, that's with chair classroom style, but with ballroom seating, it's like 245. So it's a huge space, plenty of safety. We'll have hand sanitizers. We're going to give everybody a mask, like a really nice mask, because we're required to wear that. I'll wear it. Life goes on. Okay, I'm not going to be a butthead. I'm going to play ball. But if you guys are concerned about health or safety, I respect that. Look, we're gonna follow all proper procedures and protocols. Hand sanitizer, people wearing masks, social distance. All the tables are going to be a little bit more separated, which is fine. So it's going to be a blast. But here's the thing: do not sleep on getting a ticket. Like, go on your phone right now, launchpreneuracademy.com, get your ticket. The Hyatt Hotel is where you can book a room for Friday nights, but they don't have anything available for Saturday nights. But the Spring Hill Suites Wixom, Spring Hill Suites Wixom. That is going to be the Overflow Hotel. It's literally 2 miles down the road, and you can get a room for like $100 a night, $129 a night. It's a steal. Beautiful hotel. They literally just finished building it like 6 months ago, so it's brand spanking new. But we can't wait to host you guys there. Nick Carlson, Caleb Allman, Stanley, Keith. Who else? We got Corey Ballard,
Jeff Joyner,
and my friend Jeff Joyner. Jeff Joyner, Paul, I'm telling you what, Jeff Joyner, he is a professional motivational speaker and professional storyteller. And you've never met anybody like this, because I didn't meet anybody like this. A professional storyteller, what does that mean? Like, stories for thousands of years were passed down through oration, right? Like the Iliad and Homer, right? All these different stories, they weren't written down until just the last, 1,000 years or 2,000 years. So stories were passed through oration, telling stories. And there's a skill or an art or a form of telling stories. And you guys watch Casey Neistat and Peter McKinnon. They're vloggers, but they're storytellers. And Casey Neistat's got like the best YouTube channel for storytelling and vlogging because of the way he tells a story. Yes, through different ways he shoots video. But Jeff he's a sales trainer. He worked at the Camel Soup Company. We just did a podcast episode with him, and he left out the part where he was like literally the #1 Campbell sales soup rep for 10 years, moving tens of millions of dollars of soup. And you're like, wow, I'm just selling soup. Okay, well, when you sell that quantity of soup, everybody wants a deal, right? And so he had to go through like contract negotiations with like major fast food companies that have millions and tens of $1 million, 8 and 9 figure contracts, right? So you want to talk about contract sales, high pressure sales, negotiation skills, and then just funny. This guy is the funniest human being you've ever met. What I'm paying him to speak for 1 hour is more than what I wrote a check for Paul to go on his fall road tour. Okay. Thousands and thousands and thousands, more than what some of you guys make in a week or a month. It's for 1 hour for Jeff to come in. So I could be selfish and I can say, you know what? We'll just throw, Dylan Stevenson up there for 45 minutes and he can talk, and Dylan would rock it because Dylan's got just fire all over him, smoking this thing, growing his lawn care business, doubling it year over year. And it would be a great time. But you know what? I'm going to invest into you guys. I'm going to invest. I'm that guy. I put my money where my mouth is. And I said, you know what? We got a small bankroll for the event. We got some great sponsors that believe in us and believe in the event. And so we're going to bring in Jeff. I promise you that just that guy talking is going to change your business. And that's outside of Stanley Dirt Monkey, a Keith Kalfas, a Caleb Allman, a Nick Carlson, a Corey Ballard, a live panel that Paul, you're going to be emceeing, which is super cool. You excited about that? You ready to rock and roll?
Absolutely. And let me add one more thing. My favorite part of going to these events, because I've been podcasting, I try to go to all of them because it's the best place to podcast. My favorite part of these events isn't just the speakers. It's actually the fellowship that happens amongst the peers. It's when we go to BW3s, it's when we're hanging out eating pretzels. Hopefully, are they going to have them pretzels again? We're
going to have the Italian lunch, the pretzel break, coffee, sodas, pops, everything, man. We're not going to cheap out. This is going to be a first class event, and I like to snack. I like to drink.
it's those in between the sessions when we're eating the pretzels, drinking the coffee, hanging out in the hallway. Like those are my favorite parts, honestly, because you're just talking to guys and meeting guys, and I only get to see John Pajak a few times a year, but I get to give him a big hug and see Dylan and all these other guys. That's another incentive, especially with GIE Plus Expo. You get that at GIE Plus Expo, but because it got postponed this year, it's like this is our family reunion for the community. And you guys, let's get those last 60 tickets sold out. Let's sell this thing out and have a blast in Novi.
I can't wait, Paul. We're definitely going to get you a room. We'll get some podcasting the Friday night before with setup. We'll have some of the speakers there, obviously, have some of you guys that are coming in. Maybe you're lurking around. You want to come hang out Friday night, help us set up. So we can get Paul and you guys some podcasts already. Maybe something in between speakers on the Saturday, Paul, something at lunch. I know you're going to be just moving like crazy, which is cool. We'll get you a small room or a conference room right down the hallway there. Plenty of options there at Suburban. And then Saturday night, anybody who wants to maybe stay over Sunday, or we'll see what works with your flight. But dude, I'm pumped to have you up to help cover the show. We're going to have you just bring all this content to these guys probably the first 2 weeks of November, which is just going to be super great, man. Anything else you want to leave with these guys really quick before you go on your fall tour? But if not, we'll button this thing up, brother.
I think we pretty much covered it, man.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for I'll end with this story. I got a DM today. You probably got it as well because he tagged both of us in it. I know you got a lot of DMs and maybe you haven't seen it yet, but he said he had an $18,000 contract with this company, and he's been listening to you and me and Keith. The three of us are singing the same tune. Know your worth, know your numbers, know your worth, know your numbers. We don't say it. We don't beat the dead horse, but if you listen over time, it just keeps coming up. We'll just interview random people and they just keep saying the same thing because it's the truth. Right. You need to know your worth. You need to know your numbers. So this guy, he goes and he charges them $29,000. Okay. $29,000, puts his chest up, shoulders back. He's like, I've been listening to Brian. I've been listening to Paul. I've been listening to Keith. And he goes in there and he says, hey, our price is going to be increased to this for next year to $29,000. And they said, you've been doing a great job. Let's sign the dotted line.
That's
and
awesome.
Just like that, he got an $11,000 raise because of listening to these podcasts while he's out mowing. And we've given him the confidence that you are worth it. That I know I sound like a preacher saying that's my last thing. And then I got two last things, but I was just hanging. I had an awesome opportunity, Brian. I got to hang out with some of the executives at Brightview. Like I'm like sitting there like, hey, I'm Paul Jamison. They're like, I'm the, they're sitting there like top guys at this $1 billion company. And
sure.
I'm like, okay,
sure.
like cool, like top guys. All right. And, they're just sitting there and I probably didn't have the best social etiquette. Like I'm asking like questions that are kind of aggressive, like, hey, how do you guys do this? Or how do you guys, the one guy is kind of laughing, like, who does this guy think he is asking these, like, tell me all your secrets. But I was trying to word it in a way, but it was just cool to see the way that they run Brightview, which for you guys who've never heard of them, they're the biggest company in the industry by far. Like the next second closest company isn't even close. Like there's divisions in Brightview that do more than the second biggest company. They're the monsters. But to talk to the guys who are the executives of the company and just the way they treat their company, I'm like, these guys are singing a different tune than us who are just getting started. And, and so I'm like, how can we, like you said, a shot in your arm, so to speak, how can we take that professionalism that Brightview has and the details of the way they run their business and just the way they calculate so much data. And I mean, I'm very, very impressed with their operation.
Yeah.
And you can have whatever opinion you have. You can have whatever opinion you have of them, but they got their stuff in order.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, how can we help that success, go to the guys that are just getting started, that fireman that's in his first year. And so it just fuels me to listen to your podcast, help you with your podcast, do my podcast, get these interviews, so that we can get that information out there. And the cool thing is, Brian, these shows are free. You can go and start at episode 1 of your podcast, my podcast, and listen to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of episodes, learn more than you would going to college for real, and it's free. So it's just like, If you'll invest the time and listen, we'll bring the fire. We'll try our best to bring content that's going to help you take your business to the next level.
Well, that, guys, is Paul Jamison. He's on fire. You guys can tell he's fired up. He's motivated. And Paul, I think this is the longest you've sat still in one spot, right, in your whole life, because you switched to the other headset, so like you got to plant it at your seat. You were telling me you can't pace, and I know you're a pacer. So this is super fun just having you on the podcast. Again, one more time for the socials. Where can people find you? And then we'll button this thing up, brother.
On IG, it's Green Industry Podcast. I'm going to be posting like crazy on there throughout the tour. And then my actual podcast is the Green Industry Podcast. I'm really excited, Brian. We're doing a complete brand overhaul over the next few months. So I'm going to have like a new picture and, cover art and images and website. And like we're completely taking this thing to the next level. So
absolutely,
it's going to stay the same as Green Industry Podcast. But iron sharpens iron, dude. You pump me up, Brian Fullerton. Like you inspire me. In life, in business, just you're a go-getter, you're on fire, and I'm just humbled and thankful that you invest time into me. You're investing money into our tour, so I appreciate you, my friend.
Anytime, brother. Happy to do it. I say, and I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but nobody helped me in the beginning, man. And that just made me that much more fired up that when we made it, whatever that means, that we were going to be that nice guy. We were just going to be genuine. We're going to be honest. I know I'm a dork sometimes. I know I'm a butthead sometimes, but I care. At the bottom line, I care. I appreciate people, and I appreciate you guys listening in. And I care a lot about my friend Paul. I appreciate what he's doing. I wish I had a Paul Jamison, a Green Industry podcast in my life back when I was getting started in 07, 08. That would have been just a lifesaver, a game changer. Would have saved me 10 years of try, fail, adjust, I think is what you call it, Paul. So, all right, guys. Well, let's button this up here. We'll shut it down. Paul, thanks so much for taking the time to be on our show. Thanks for being flexible with the schedule to get you on here. We're doing this a late night evening here, midweek for you guys, and continue to watch Paul both on YouTube and on the podcast, because I can't wait to hear what all these guests are going to be bringing. And for any of you guys that are going to be guests on his show, part of that fall tour, we've already put out the call. We got this high expectation. Hopefully those guys deliver, which I know they will. And I think everybody's in good hands. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, we're going to shut it down. Paul, thanks so much again for being on the show. And we'll catch up with you guys on the next one.
See ya.
Do us a favor and please keep sharing these episodes with fellow lawn bros, entrepreneurs, or just anybody you can think of that might enjoy it. Now, if your company or business would like to be a sponsor on the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast, go to launchpreneuracademy.com. That link's in the description in today's show notes. Click on the About Us link to start that conversation. And let me remind you to pick up Brian's new price adjustment letter. This is a great opportunity to grow your business. It's an editable, customizable price adjustment letter that you can send to your customers. You hear us talk about raising rates all the time. In addition to the letter, you're going to get access to an explainer video on how to effectively utilize the rate increase letter, plus lifetime access to upgrades and updates that we might make in the future. It's really not a bad deal for only $25. And don't forget, episode 51. See ya.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.